Hello, good morning, everybody from Barcelona. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today. First of all, I would like to thank the Shiraz Municipality and as well the Mashhad Learning and Training Center of Metropolis, the Metropolis International Training Institute, for working together with us in organizing this seminar. As you may know, 2 weeks ago, we approved our new strategic action plan in Metropolis for the next 3 years. And one of the key questions is about the future of our cities, how we want to shape, how we want to design, how we want to develop our cities, especially taking into account what we already have. And in particular, when talking about big cities, about metropolitan spaces, metropolises with a long history, sometimes it's difficult to think about the transformations. Sometimes there are people who think, well, we need to knock down everything and rebuild the city from zero. But this is impossible because cities are sometimes like living beings and they have the history, and we want to keep the soul of our cities. This pandemic has confronted us to many of the contradictions of our urban developments, of our urban growth. Uh, some as well in July, we launched from Metropolis, we launched what we call, and sorry for it, I'm redundant, it's a call to rethink our metropolitan spaces. And we were saying is not only to our membership, to our cities all around the world, to our leadership, but all stakeholders, urban planners, all universities, academia, think tanks, to work together with us in terms of rethinking our metropolitan spaces. What is needed to ensure the quality of life of our citizens? Because I think at the end of the day, this is the key question: how we ensure that nobody, no people, no person, no man, no woman is left behind in our urban development. I'm sorry that we have to keep it this online. I remember a year ago I was in Shiraz and I had the opportunity to visit some of the urban developments. If I'm not wrong, the district which is called Blackstone, I can't remember the name in Farsi, sorry, but the Blackstone, where you are aiming to transform the historical center and to make a more lively center, to bring life, to bring business, to bring people in the historical city center. And I think this is something that's happening all around the world. How you keep the balance between modernity and heritage. And as I said in our strategic action plan, as I said at the beginning, what we're aiming is to work together with our membership, with our 140 members, in thinking how we can transform these cities, how we can share ideas, how we can support each other in terms of this urban development and the needs of the future urban development. And of course, there is not one single framework, I'm sure. I mean, we cannot copy and paste, but we can learn from each other and we can have reference frameworks that can help us to develop our ideas, to test and to see what has been working in one area and how can we transform and learn from each other's success, but as well failures. And this is the idea of today, this encounter of today. I'm afraid I won't be able to stay with you because I had a last minute change in my agenda, but I wish you a lot of fruitful discussions, and I hope this is the start of many other workshops and seminars. So thank you very much, and congratulations for this initiative.
Thank you, Mr. De La Varga, and thank you, Mr. Javad Bahadori. Mr. Javad Bahadori is a deputy mayor for urban planning and architecture in Shiraz. Salam Bahame, good morning, good afternoon to our guests. I am Agnes Vickart, the Senior Manager for Institutional Relations at Metropolis. Welcome to this webinar organized at the initiative of the Municipality of Shiraz in close collaboration with the City of Mashhad and the Metropolis Secretariat General in Barcelona. Today it is my pleasure to welcome the cities of Shiraz, Dresden and Nanjing, three metropolises who will share with us their successful experience on sustainable urban regeneration. First of all, I would like to remind you that this webinar is being recorded. Our guest speakers will have the chance to answer questions at the end of this session. So please feel free to submit your questions in the webinar chat area, and we will address as many as time allows. I would also kindly request you to silence your micro because there is a lot of noise, and we would like to hear our beautiful speakers. Located in the vicinity of Persepolis, one of the most magnificent capitals of the ancient world, Shiraz has been well known for its cultural heritage and notable literary figures since a long time ago. Shiraz is the fifth most populous city of Iran, and a few years ago, its municipality decided to invigorate and thoroughly refresh 11 of its heritage neighborhoods. I now introduce Mrs. Nastaran Nachdugi. She is the head of Urban Regeneration Bureau in Shiraz. Over to you, Mrs. Nachdugi.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay. Hello, dear friends and colleagues all around the world. The topic I want to talk about is culture-led urban regeneration. It's about some experiences have been implemented during 7 last years, aiming at the sustainable urban regeneration in the historical zone of Shiraz. This zone was degenerated, and at that time, urban management decided not to employ some mega-scale projects and decided to stop the intervention methods such as larger scale property acquisition, destruction, and reconstruction. In fact, sustainable urban regeneration approach was adopted when a paradigm shift was occurring, in which historical zone was considered from heritage to wealth, to treasure trove, as Mr. Darvarga says. This is agenda. This slide sets agenda. I will give you, after some general information about this historical zone. All contents have been provided in 5 stages, and in which I'm trying to portray what exactly culture-led urban regeneration is and how does it work. And at the end, I will give you some results, our vision, of course, our vision during this process, and conclusion. Okay. Historical zone in Shiraz is, as we can see, is located on the center of this city, this linear city. Its heritage is 1200 years old. The area of this zone is 370 hectares. More than 77,000 people live here, and there are 13,000 houses, and 1,200 of these houses inscribed as national heritage or valuable building. And also there are 11 neighborhoods in this zone. Okay. When we started our activities, we faced some difficulties, something like obstacles, and we also, instead of them, faced some opportunities, some potentials. The status there were some conflicting paradigms between preservation and development. We faced some urban poverty, abandoned urban spaces and social crime, lack of urban infrastructure and services, functional and physical degeneration. Instead of them, we also faced, we had some potentials like monuments, tangible or intangible heritage, and of course, people who are living here. Buildings, passages, and activities remained. At the first stage, I want to explain what is culture-led urban regeneration is. Actually, it's a way to reach the balance between two ever opposing concepts. It has 2 pillars. Number 1 is cultural events, and number 2 is creative cultural industries, with an emphasis on the local economy improvement. At the second stage, I'm trying to portray how does CUR run as 6 steps. I use CUR for brevity. It means culture-led urban regeneration, and these 6 steps look like 6 stairs, as you can see. At the first, we started to reorganize in physical and functional system. And after that, we held some cultural events. We started to change land uses. And at that moment, we were ready to define some projects with the aim of urban renaissance in the passages, the small projects. And also after that, we implemented some special culture-led urban regeneration projects. And the end, we start to train residents. At the first step, in reorganization step, when we start our intervention, we decided to redefine the old boundaries of these neighborhoods and to regenerate the functional system of them. These 11 neighborhoods have been divided between 2 functions, tourism and residential. 4 neighborhoods have been provided for tourism activities, and the rest of them have been improved for residential purposes. At the second step, I'm going to show you some cultural events. It's one of those examples is traditional ceremony. We held some traditional ceremonies. You can see one of them is some wedding wedding ceremony for a tree, for sour orange tree. It's a famous tree in Shiraz, and this ceremony is a kind of praying God to get to get more fruit. And the goals were to get people know the local culture, to get social coherence between immigrants and residents, and to get immigrants informed about the intangible heritage and traditions. Another example for cultural events were national festivals. We held some national festivals around these neighborhoods. The goals were revival of forgotten handicrafts and attracting tourists and people of Shiraz to the historical zone. Another example were the sports and scientific events. The goals were students and scientists come to visit value of historical zone, and of course to provide social security through having people in urban spaces. One of our amazing experience were educating and training the children how to preserve the tangible or intangible heritage, of course, to inject happiness into lifeless neighborhoods and to make an opportunity for children to play in safety in urban spaces. One of these examples we call book niche to promote the book reading, and the goals were to have a lively atmosphere in the neighborhoods over the weekends and to make an opportunity for residents to make and sell their handworks. If you remember, this goal refers to the second pillar of CUR approach. After these activities, we started to change land use. The first action were to locate the boutique hotels. We it's about changing residential land use to cultural and tourist friendly ones. The goals were empower the tourism industry, to encourage investment by the private sector, and to restore the old buildings and passages. Of course, refers to the second pillar, to employ residents in newly created jobs in neighborhoods. The second experience in land use changing, we extend our activities and we located an open galleries, museums, ateliers, coffee shops, restaurants, and branches of reputable companies and commercial brands. The main goal was to improve social security through inviting people to the walking tour of the urban abandoned spaces. So at the fourth step, we started to define, to plan some projects in the urban spaces with the aim of urban renaissance in the passages. These were small projects, small area projects. The acts were absolutely restoring the floors and walls of passages. And as you can see these pictures before and after, we removed the cars from sites, and these spaces bestowed to the pedestrian. The goals were, of course, physical restoration, to develop some attractive places to bring tourists to the zone and to improve the quality of life. It was very important. It is very important during all over this process to improve the quality of life in the historical zone and to foster the sense of social security. At the fifth step, we implemented some CUR projects. We defined some projects with the name Culture-Led Urban Regeneration. There were to create value-added properties to encourage the local or original residents to return to these neighborhoods. What was the act? Repairing or restoring the surfaces and walls of passages. Of course, performing murals with themes of old stories. As you can see in this picture, it's a mythical story. And inviting artists, it was very efficient. Inviting artists to live in these neighborhoods to make their handworks. And the last step, we started to educate and train residents, to provide residents with training and with job training and skills opportunity. To empower, it was very important. It refers to the pillars of CUR approach, to empower the people to increase their incomes. So we came back to the stages. And at the third stage, I'm going to explain or portray two mega-scale projects. One of them is Revitalization Center of Neighborhood. Center of Neighborhood is it's an important concept in old urban design in ancient Persia. I'm going to explain the history of this concept. Old urban design system was based on hierarchy in accessing common system. The first unit in a city was neighborhood, and it was self-sufficient. You know, it's like being a city in another city, another bigger city. They had all required services which residents would need. So we defined some projects. Functional revitalization of old neighborhood centers includes markets, workshops, mosques, schools, and something like this. Another example of mega-scale project, actually, we had to correct some past activities. As you can see in this picture, it's a governance square beside the Grand Palace, Arg Karim Khan in Shiraz, and beside the main market, Bazar Vakil. And 20 years ago, when this project started, the approach was position, demolition, and reconstruction. But today, the main approach is the urban regeneration. Now we have a 13-hectare empty land. This land was possessed and demolished, but unfortunately not reconstructed. So we found out the best way is to rebuild old forms in accordance with modern functions as urban regeneration policies direct us. At the fourth stage, we had to make some amendments to regulations. At the legislation issues, we needed to update current rules addressing the historical zone. We had to develop and pass the needed regulation and rules. And of course, we changed the rules to facilitate the investment flow. And at the last stage, we planned to get participation. As you know, participation has a wide range, and we plan to get the primary or early levels of this. And the acts we did were to involve artists and professionals in the CUR process, and to encourage investors from the private sector to restore the buildings while focusing on preserving the tangible heritages. This slide, I want to explain our vision during this process. We adopted the concept of choice theory. You know, we don't expect the gentrification to happen and residents move to other neighbors will come back. But we are planning to improve the quality of life indicators so that the citizen can choose these neighborhoods to live as well. You know, the tourism purposes and providing the services for tourists is the side goal for us. Improving the quality of life in these neighborhoods is the main goal. And as conclusion, as you can see, when we start our activities in 2013, the development path came to a standstill. There were crises on all areas. We were on F status. It was we were lucky we were not on G status, permanent debt. We were on F status. And after 4 years activity, moving through the fundamental and structural assistance projects and actions, we reached D status. And during these last 2 years, we did some urgent and immediate actions, life stimulus projects designed with drip effects. And we tried to get some private sector investment and provision of infrastructure by the public sector. We hope after these actions, these activities, and these plannings, we hope to reach status A. The status A is where this historical zone used to be. And you are already invited to visit this charming city. And thank you so much. Take care. It's my email address if you need some more information. Take care.
Thank you, Mrs. Nashdougi, for this brilliant presentation. Charming city is not enough to describe the beauty of Shiraz. I had the privilege, I must say, and the honor to visit one of these heritage communities, the Blackstone one. I cannot say it in Farsi, Sangiha, I don't know how you pronounce it, but where you can find these beautiful individual houses with just a humble door, and you open the door and there is a stunning architecture, fabulous heritage buildings right behind this humble door. So it's about community, it's about heritage communities. People work together, they decide all together, and the work of the municipality of Shiraz has been really instrumental in creating more secured and auto-sufficient neighborhoods. I think you call them mahalle, difficult to translate in our language, but it is an auto-sufficient neighborhood, and actually it's pretty timely and pertinent to speak about this mahalle these days when the 15-minute city is everywhere in the media, you know. So thank you so much, Nastaran. Let's move now to Germany, where a few years ago the city of Dresden undertook massive plans to redesign and regenerate some of their old brownfield industrial sites, and at the same time mitigate the consequences of climate change. I now introduce Mr. Wolfgang Socher. He is the head of environmental office in the Dresden. The floor is yours, Mr. Socher. I cannot hear you. I don't know if you can
Now,
hear Mr. Socher. Okay.
I hope
Now
you can.
yes.
Okay.
Thank
Again,
you.
the same. And you can see the presentation? Okay.
Yes.
Dear colleagues, dear participants, I'm delighted that I can tell you something about the city of Dresden today. The city in which I have been living for many years. Dresden is the capital of the Free State of Saxony in Germany and in Europe, and it lies in the valley of the Elbe River, about 100 to 200 meters above sea level. The city has about 560 inhabitants. It's not so big, and an area of 302,009 square kilometers, and it's only 800 years old, not about 1,000. 62% of the urban area are green spaces or forests, as well as agricultural areas. The landscape in combination with the city silhouette gives a fantastic and overall picture, also loved by tourists, not only by the inhabitants. The natural area of the city is enriched by the wide meadows along the river Elbe, a larger forest area, and a lot of parks. Dresden is a city of education with many universities, with technology development, culture, and tourism. Dresden is one of the cities with the most tourists, with almost 5 million overnight stays per year in Germany. The industrial development of the city from the middle of the 19th century has also left many contaminated sites. In this way, there are also abandoned areas near the city center which have fallen waste and no longer meet today's urban planning requirements. But let us now turn to the real area that I want to tell you about. It is located near the city center and has been severely affected by structural changes at the end of the 20th century. Maybe you have heard about the reunion of West and East German states, and a follow of this reunion was the structural change in our country, especially in the eastern part of the country. The share of the brownfields in this area is over 20%. Although the area is very close to the city center, it has a very bad image. About 15 years ago, the city decided to acquire such an area, to renovate it, and thus to return it to the urban development. The land was purchased by the Economic Development Office with the aim of redeveloping 2/3 for trade and buildings, and out of 1/3 to develop a green belt, the so-called Weißeritz Grünzug. The city has itself the goal of significantly significantly enhance this area by making it interesting again for urban development. The many disadvantages of this area had to be eliminated. This is reflected in the land use plan you can see here and here, the specific area. In addition to the green corridor, areas for trade, schools, and recreation are to be shown. The goal is a mixed use. It's the gray color here to show us the aim is mixed use. The overall development was coordinated by the City Planning Office. In addition to the Environmental Office, the Office of Economic Development was also involved. The project was funded by the European Union, especially in the remediation of contaminated sites, and the Free State of Saxony also supported us. With this project, a brownfield, completely underdeveloped area could be revitalized. The strategic plan for the Environmental Office is the landscape plan. It is a plan according to German laws. This plan has a strategic mission statement, a compact city in the ecological network. This is a Dresden-specific feature. The landscape plan covers almost all environmental concerns in a scale of 1 to 10,000. The landscape plan envisages improving the interconnection between natural areas in order to better adapt to climate change and also to other functions of the natural budget. In this area, our landscape plan corresponds to the land use plan I showed in the previous picture. The same, or the aim of the development is the same. It was important for us to start, from the start, to involve citizens in this planning process. The aim was to arouse interest in the development of this forgotten area and to achieve a high level of acceptance. Several expectations had to be met. This was achieved in a laborious and complex process. In addition, funding had to be acquired in order to carry out this project at all I mentioned before. Here you can see a part of this area on an aerial photo. Circled in red, is a area of a former glass factory from the 19th century, from 1870. This old factory with its contaminations represent a threat to the entire area and had to be removed. From the right until to the glass factory, you can see a trail system and an old track system. And this system was used to deliver the raw materials to the glass factory. Here you can see an excerpt, yes, of this factory. You can see a lot of buildings. And from the outside, you can think, yeah, it could be a beautiful industrial monument, but just look inside with the cellars, show you the extent of the damage. This is especially clear when you look at the groundwater below this terrain. It's hard to believe, but you can see here groundwater. It's not clear, it's brown. What's the reason for this groundwater? When the glass was melted by means of coal firing, a lot of tar was created in the end, which has simply remained in the area. Tar consists of hydrocarbons. This pollutant was not disposed of, but remains in the ground for many decades and also affected the groundwater, as you could see in the previous picture. Here you can see the individual measures that we, the environmental office, had to carry out. The building itself, but above all, the remains in the ground had to be removed. In order to document the success of the project, the measuring points for the quality of the groundwater also had to be set up. Now you can see the result of on this aerial photo. Nothing can be seen of the buildings above ground, but all the cellars also had been removed below ground. The soil was replaced to a depth of several meters and replaced with clean soil. This project, this sub-project, created an essential prerequisite for the development of the area, for the whole area, and especially for the green corridor. Some parts of this corridor you could see here. Here you can see again in the overview the new green corridor with a green hatched line, and for orientation, the area of the former glass factory. One of the aims was to create better connections from the outside, from the peripherals of the city to the city center. And the bicycle path was inaugurated in 2008. And as you can see, it met with great interest among the population. A few years later, you can see actually a green corridor was developed. Land is very scarce commodity in cities. You must therefore assign as many functions as possible to them. The green corridor itself has many ecological functions. It's also a transport link and enhances the area as a whole. Some other aspects you can read here: the soil and groundwater quality, reduced urban heat island, improved biodiversity, it connected areas, some green areas also to the city center, the recreation. We have established playgrounds and as you could see, the bicycle path. And now you have for businesses a reputable business and not the forgotten area and with a bad image as we had before. I only could you introduce the main building blocks of the development, namely the renovation of the old factory. However, this redevelopment has a major impact on the entire area, and we were able to realize our idea of this multifunctional green corridor. I've listed some of these new features here as examples. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Socher, for this very informative and factual presentation, and that shows how stigmatized brownfield sites have been completely refurbished and cleaned and regenerated and given back to the public spaces. The articulations between your department, the environmental department, and the planning department of the city, this never-ending process is really interesting. Thank you so much. Our journey will end up in China. Nanjing is one of the oldest cities of China, as well as a historical capital of many dynasties, kingdoms, and republican governments dating from the 3rd century and during the history of the Chinese Empire. The Mandon area is a prominent cultural landmark in Nanjing. I now introduce Ms. Ling Zhang. She is Deputy Director of the Development and Reform Commission of Qinhuaye District in Nanjing. Over to you, Ms. Zhang.
Thank you for playing the PowerPoint for me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Bahadori. Good morning, Mr. Secretary. Good morning, Agnes. Yeah. Nice
Good
to meet you.
morning.
Yeah. I'm Ling from Nanjing, Qinghai, Nanjing, China. And Nanjing and Shiraz are sister cities, and it's a very great pleasure for me to share my work with you here. So I'm so impressed for what you have done on this area, on this urban renewal area. And we are doing our part in our city too. So today I want to share with you the two case studies of the Oatmandal area and the small Westlake area. They are also, both of these two areas are located in Qinghai, and one of the very old district in Nanjing. So let's start with the first part, the Oatmandal area. Thank you. And next one, please. So the Oatmandal area takes its name by the location, which is to the east of Zhonghua Gate in Qinghai, Nanjing. And it is the largest historical area, well preserved in Nanjing. It is unique and valuable. It is also the root and representative of Nanjing's long history and rich culture with thousands of years. So here you can see the picture. It is a traditional, the arc. Yeah, it right on it, the name Oatmandal is the gate when we get into this free open space. And the bigger picture here is the overlook of the Mandon area. So it is to have the building style of this area is just the same as Ming and Qing dynasty in the old China. It has the white walls with the black roof tiles. It is very traditional old Chinese style. Next one, please. Thank you. And here we do an urban regeneration in this Mandon area. So it started from the government. The Nanjing government decided to set up the historical and cultural protection and rehabilitation headquarters in the year 2010 with the ambition to organize this whole area and promote the landscape of this area just systematically. So the Oatmandal area is the co-site of this big project. And here you can see this picture, and on the right, it is the night with all the night turns on. It has a very beautiful sight. Last one, thank you. Yeah. Here and so we can see some images of the Oatmandal area, the memorial gateway, archway, the landscape, and also the site in the evening. So here we talk about the difference of this project taking place in this area. And I use the word difference. It is different from the very first stage we are doing the urban renewal. In that the first stage, we just as the secretary talked about it just now, we just locked down the old buildings and moved the local residents away and built up a group of new buildings in the same area, and then enclose with a fence, sell tickets, and make money with that to keep the balance. But for this Mandon area, old Mandon project, we changed to another way. Here it's free to everyone. And to keep the balance of the big investment in the early stage, we take functions and business development into consideration at the first step. So while protecting and inheriting the original culture, This project integrates cultural displays, artistic creations, tourism industry, and leisure facilities and experiences into the whole system. At night, we have a light show on the Ming Dynasty city wall. It is just it's just beside this whole area. This whole area is embraced by the Ming Dynasty city wall. And here we can see in the picture of the open space, public space. This is a place we hold many public activities, even the government press conference, some folk activities, also introduction and marketing events are taking place here. So it is one of the landmark and the activity. Next one, thank you. So to protection, okay, thank you. So here, what we have done many things. One of them is protection and renewal of the original culture, the civil culture in this area. We prepared important historical and cultural spots, such as the former residence of Shen Wanshan. So talk about this guy. This guy, just now we mentioned how the old Mandon area take its name. And it is one of the very important gate in Qinghai and also in Nanjing, the Zhonghua Gate. At first, it has the name of the Treasure Gate because Mr. Shen Wanshan buried all his treasure there. So it got the name, this Treasure Gate. And now we call it the Zhonghua Gate. And also the examination shed of Shangjiang. You know, in Qinghai, we have the biggest examination shed and examination area that is Confucius Temple. Yeah, it is just near this Oatmandal area. And we also reviewed the ancient buildings such as Junhui Library and the Wenqu Tea House, which represent the civic culture characteristics of Qinghai and bring back the original blue stone bricks roads. So the roads of this area is very unique. It is just the old Chinese tradition. Second way, bring many businesses and industry functions. The cultural exhibition, artistic creation, tourism we mentioned just now, they all laid out here to keep the balance of the fund of this project and bring sustainable cash flow to pay off the large amount of investment in the early stage. As I mentioned just now, this Oatmandal area is free to everyone. But how to make money? Because all the investment was made by the government. So the government built the houses and then leased the buildings to business companies, and these companies earn money and pay taxes to government. So using this way, we can have to keep the balance of the cash flow. But now it is, I think it's not in balance yet. Maybe it will take more than another 5 to 7 years, we can get a positive cash flow because, you know, the investment in the early stage is quite huge. It is, so it will take quite a long time to balance this. So now you can see the new images of the old Mandon, the last one, thank you. So to inject modern energy to this area, we have so many wonderful things. It is attractive. We gather delicate hotels, refined restaurants, boutique retail store, folk crafts, design studios, art exhibition houses, lovely bookstores, and other leisure facilities. So this is a picture of the free-hand sketching of the old Mandon area, and about the old buildings and ancient site. And the whole area is
and have the old poetic setting with floating water, with delicate bridges over flowing water, and white wall and black roof tiles preserved. So that is in a systematic and just in almost the same way. So when you say the whole landscape from the Ming Dynasty city wall, you can know how beautiful it is. The new images of the old Mandon area. In here, we increase popularity. Next PPT, thank you. Next slide, thank you here. Since it's opened in the year 2013, the old Mandon area has received more than 54 million visitors, making it one of the newly representative cultural and tourism landmark in Nanjing. And we can see this picture on the biggest picture. It is a garden with the name of how can I say it? Mustard seed garden. Yeah, it is. Maybe it concerns with the just like the mustard seed mentioned in the Bible in the Colossians. And it means although it is very small, it's just like the mustard seed, but you can have everything, can imagine everything amazing gathered in this garden. It is the old house of Li Yu. That is one of the most famous dramatist, writer. An artist. In the main pictures, you can see some sculptures that is all built in public places, showing the scene of the life in the old Mandon area exhibition. It's also one of the exhibition space of the world famous. So this place is now in recent years, it is one of the exhibition space of the world famous Latin show in Qinghai. Also, it have a booming trade. It has attracted more than 150 merchants, introduced a number of highly qualitative commercial brands, such as the Red Mansion, that is a very famous restaurant, and Flower Trees Hotel, and De Yun She, that is a very professional croc talk show in China. It is the Croc Show Club, which are famous and popular. Yeah. Oh, it is the next slide. Sorry. Yeah, yes. Yeah, that is the pictures of our activities and the overlook of Mandon area and some very delicate hotels and other places we can enjoy ourselves here. That's one, thank you. So it is also a prominent cultural landmark here now in these days. Since its opening, the Old Mandon area has organized more than 700 commercial and public activities and over 100 cultural exhibitions. The street is becoming a new name card of Nanjing. Now the Mandon Historic District Conservation and Revitalization Project covers a total area of 150,000 square meters, and the expansion work still continuing. So now we are doing another expansion and doing the urban renewal of other spaces. It is just doing our expansion work. So although it is very popular and everybody love it, no matter it's young or old, so many people gathered in this places all year round, but we still have problems in this kind of mode of city renewal. We can see it in the next slide. Yeah, the capital input of local resident resettlement is extremely large, with so many confrontations and tough negotiations during the whole process. So Mandon started to, the negotiation started at about the year 2010, and it lasted a long time to move all the local people out of this place. The second, the development of industry and culture played a dominant role in a lot of lead of people, especially the local residents. So just as I mentioned just now, all the local people, I mean, most of them move away and have their resettlement in other places, not on site. The third, it is the top-down renewal, lack of creativity, and the public participation is not so well improved. So although the place is neat, it is prosperous. If we go back to that time, we could have more choices. But I think like the stages we talked about just now, it is also a place, a witness to the history of urban renewal on this, in Qinghai and on this lovely land. And that is why we introduced the small West Lake mode after we tried the Oatmandal mode. Facing all those problems, we are trying to do it in another way. In fact, the small West Lake area is just quite near to the Oatmandal area. We can say it is the stage 2, or we can say it is the second mode of our city regeneration choices. We can have another 2 slides away. Yeah, next one. Yeah, okay, thank you so much. So in this picture, the last one.
The problem is the
last one. No, before.
process of the new mode.
Where
Social situation on the right. Wow.
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. So the Oatmandal and the small lake area, they are very near. The small West Lake area located north of Oatmandal, and it has an area of.
Oh, 84 نفر تو جلسه مهدی.
Excuse me, we cannot hear you, Mrs. Zhang. We cannot hear you well.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Can you? All right. All right. Okay. Would you please take me to one slide before? Where the small lake area, where's the small West Lake area? The last slide, yeah. So the small West Lake, yeah, thank you so much. So in this picture, we can say the Oatmandal area and the small West Lake area, they are very near, just one street between them. The small West Lake area located in the north of the Oatmandal area, it has 50,000 square meters and is a home to 810 residents, 25 industrial and enterprise units. This area is also one of the 22 historical and cultural areas identified in Nanjing History and Cultural City Protection Plan. So it is also one of the original resident area with Ming and Qing dynasty traditional features, just still existing alive. There are 7 historic alleys, 7 historic buildings, and 2 immovable cultural relics here, which carries abundant and deep Nanjing memory. The city renewal of this small West Lake, the process started 5 years ago and came to the attention for the first time just a few months ago. So it's quite new. Till now, the whole project cost 1.3 billion. among which 1.2 billion are used for the local resident resettlement. We'll talk about it later. So the next slide. The process of the new, and that is a new, the new kind of concept of urban renewal we have attempted to do. Unlike the old Mandon area, the small West Lake area project is operated in a bottom-up way. There's no historical buildings demolished, no forced original residents relocated. Instead, the efforts of local government, enterprises, communities, citizens, and scholars were all joined together, and a self-oriented concept was proposed. According to the spatial situation and the property right, 15 planning control units and 127 micro-renewable implementation units were planned and designed. In the next slide, we can see the timeline of the whole renewable process. In this process, public participation was fully stimulated and respected. Local residents' voice were heard and accepted, and many creative practices were first proposed and put into effect, such as the private housing rental for public use and on-site housing resettlement. So we can see the timeline. It started at the year 2015, and the volunteer activities started. And to talk about the volunteers, almost all the scholars are taking place. Because in the 20 years ago, when we do the urban renewal, in fact, many of the buildings were torn down. So it is, when we look back on that time period, what a pity it is. Some of the very good buildings were just disappeared because we don't have the concept of doing it in a better way. So it's only in the recent years we started to realize the importance to protect all those old buildings, and also have the sense to protect the sense of place, to protect the culture, which is rooted on this land, not only the buildings. To the year 2016, the policy discussion started. It is happened with the local residents, and it really takes a long time to talk about with the local people, because we are trying another way, just make them feel comfortable about where we are, about the choices, whether they will choose to live just on site or out. So that is a long time discussion to let people know what we are going to do and what they will get if they choose to go with us. And then in the year 2017, among the 800 local households in the area, half of them choose not to relocate it on site. It means half of them choose to locate it on site. So it's have to have, yeah. In the year 2019, 48 courtyards were released and the constructions began. And here today, in this year, in year 2020, the overall images of the the small West Lake area were presented. Next slide, thank you. So in this picture, you can see what it looks like now of this small West Lake area. There are 48 courtyards were released, sharing public spaces were rebuilt. On-site resettlement and improvement to meet the urgent need of independent facilities, which brings the local residents good feelings about their hometown and cultural root, and also make their life more comfortable and convenient. So you can't imagine in this year, many people living in this area, they doesn't have an independent kitchen and independent toilet. And so along with this urban renewal of this area, they get what they want. The industrial development and cultural heritage and heritage protections also happened here. In this area, we have Huajin Hotel, Cafe number 29, Model Street, Renmin Aesthetic Education School, and former residents of Fuyaocheng, etc. That is all the historic spots we regenerated in this area. Next one, thank you. So from this slide, they are all the small site we can see of this area before and after the city, the urban renewal. This one is Huajin Hotel, Huajin Hotel. It is in the southwest part of small Westlake area. There used to be some small businesses along the road, but now it is a hotel. We mentioned the renewable concept. It maintains the basic courtyard structure, protect the original image of buildings, inject the vitality of modern life, and create attractive public open spaces of this area. So now it is a very popular hotel, and it's so hard to book. The next one is the Temple of Three Emperors. Yeah. This site is a model road. It used to be a temple consecrating the three emperors, represent the sky, the land, and the river, which have the high status in Taoism in China. So the function now, after the renewal and strengthened, this site was also open to public. We protect the original site, improve the exterior damaged image of this site, inject cultural connotations, and bring more attractions of this area. The third one is the number 29 Model Road Cafe. Yeah, the next slide. So
sorry to interrupt, Ms. Chang. Sorry to interrupt you. You have 2 minutes left, Ms. Chang. Okay. Thank you very much.
We can go faster. This one is a cave. Yeah, it's in the middle south part. It used to be local resident houses, and now we can say the difference between of the past and what it looks like now. The next one. The next one is the Intelligence and Control Center. Here we also put up public management and security facilities systematically in this intelligent control center, such as the fire posts, intelligent monitoring centers, and we also construct small scale and multiple function public leisure spaces in this just a small area. The fifth is the youth hostel. It is used to be a factory dormitory building, and now it have commercial service. It is a commercial service area, and it have similar design concept in it, and it is more attractive now. So let's, because of the time, we'll just go into the new concept of this small lake area. Yeah, the next one. And so we talk about new concepts. It's an urban community planning and design process in accordance with local conditions. It mainly micro-integrated pipe galleries construction, symbiosis courtyard, sharing courtyard design were accepted here, and process. And also, the most important of it is the bottom-up urban renewable involvement. Private housing rental for public reuse, on-site housing resettlement are all new concepts we use to make all this come true. The next three slides about the detailed expressions of the municipal micropipe galleries and the symbiosis courtyard design, and also the sharing courtyard design. So on this yeah, that is all we use here. So in this one, we just put all the the first concept, we put all the pipes, and they just literally gather together in the multiple micro pipe gallery. And in the symbiotic courtyard, I'm sorry, the living function and the working function are getting together. They live together in harmony. And the sharing courtyard design, and this concept, we just have a mixed use function and open space design, and make it the original closed and isolated courtyard, revitalized and become a new place for community residents to walk and talk and feel the sense of place at that place. And the fourth is the on-site resettlement. And for example, there's a 3-story old public houses transformed into a modern apartment building, which give total number of 24 apartments. We also have complete and independent supporting facilities and make the life of the local residents much better. And the last one is what we can do to make it better. So although we have very good attempts on this field and doing a better urban renewable job, we're still facing some problems which we can improve in the future. First, find other reconfigurable plots to promote this effective new mode. Second, we are more optimized investment and cash flow. Third, more involvement of market force, volunteer, third-party public welfare forces, and also we will introduce specialized community planners to this project and to the future project. That is what I want to share. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Zhang, for this fascinating presentation and thorough overview of a dual approach, the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach of urban regeneration in Xinhua. I've been right now, I've been informed that we can have the welcome video by Deputy Mayor Mr. Bahadori. So please, Mr. Bahadori, welcome.
سلام عرض میکنم خدمت همه عزیزان و عرض خوش آمدگویی. جواد بهادری هستم، معاون شهرسازی و معماری شهردار شیراز. باعث افتخار بنده هست که از شهر زیبا و تاریخی شیراز خدمت شما هستم. در ابتدا لازم میدونم که از مرکز همکاری‌های بین‌المللی علمی تخصصی مشهد و همچنین دبیرخانه متروپولیس و شخص جناب آقای دلاوارگا دبیر محترم متروپولیس بابت همکاری و حمایتشون تشکر و قدردانی کنم. همچنین تشکر میکنم از نمایندگان شهر خواهرخوانده شیراز، نانجینگ و شهر درستن که در این برنامه قبول زحمت کردند و دعوت شهرداری شیراز رو پذیرفتن و به ایراد سخنرانی در این وبینار در واقع انجام میدن. خیلی تمایل داشتیم که به صورت حضوری در خدمت شما در این شهر زیبا و تاریخی باشیم، اما متاسفانه به علت محدودیت‌های ویروس کرونا نتوانستیم در واقع این مهم را انجام بدیم و این فرصت رو نداشتیم. انشالله امیدواریم که در فرصت‌های مناسب از نزدیک در خدمت شما باشیم و از شهر زیبا و تاریخی شیراز و فرهنگ، هنر و تاریخ و تمدن این شهر از نزدیک آشنا بشین. همچنین از مهمان نوازی های مردم خونگرم شیراز در واقع آشنا بشین، با فرهنگ ما آشنا بشین انشالله در آینده. اما این وبینار خودش یک فرصت مناسبی است که ما به موضوع بازآفرینی شهری بپردازیم، موضوعی که بسیار مورد توجه این روز شهرهای بزرگ جهان هست. انشالله با بررسی جنبه‌های مختلف اقتصادی، اجتماعی، فرهنگی و سایر جنبه‌های موضوع بازآفرینی بتوانیم با تبادل تجربه و دانش به بررسی موضوع و اولویت بندی ها و برنامه‌ریزی و نهایتاً ارائه راهکارهای مناسب و حل مشکل بپردازیم. خیلی خوشحال شدم که تونستم از این طریق با شما در ارتباط باشم و ارتباط برقرار کنم و از همکاری همه شما کمال تشکر رو دارم و آرزوی سلامتی و تندرستی را برای همه عزیزان از خداوند بزرگ آرزو میکنم. خدا حافظ همگی شما.
Thank you, Mr. Bahadori. We could read your video. We could not hear you, so I think it would be necessary to have another webinar in 2021 with you, because we are a bit frustrated this morning. I want to thank all our speakers for sharing such inspiring experiences and knowledge from their respective city. Without further ado, I will open the floor to our audience. We have a Q&A time. And I think I have a question for you, Mrs. Nachdugi. Is there any research or analytic report to show the level of resident satisfaction of these activities that you just mentioned?
Yes, the right answer is yes. May I show you a slide I've prepared for another presentation, of course, but it can explain what I'm going to say. Okay. Okay. As you can see, our analytic search or research or gathering data released that there are three groups who are worked on living in this zone. The one of them with the orange color, non-residential land uses. These are 50% of the buildings and the land uses. And the green one, the green chart shows that satisfied residents. So there is 50% of building in residential land uses, and the rest of them are non-residential. So in the non-residential land uses, people are satisfied for 4 reasons. The one, increasing the value added of real estate, and the 2, increasing the sense of security. 3 is encouraging the private sector to invest, and the reason number 4 is increasing urban management budget. It has been increased 5-fold during 2 last years, and the non-residential owners are satisfied for these 4 reasons. But in the residential category, there are 10% dissatisfied residents, as you can see. 40% are satisfied. They include tenants, immigrants, and a few percentage of owners. And between these people, there's 10% dissatisfied residents for 2 reasons. These are reached, we gathered the data, and they are dissatisfied for 2 reasons. The process of infill development is very slow, and it's due to the nature of historical zone problems. These problems have been risen for decades, and maybe it will take so many years to get rid of them. And the second reason is lack of per capita urban services. We need to improve the infrastructure facilities. For example, we need to constructing the common underground canals And for infrastructure facilities, it looks like a surgery in this zone, and with time costing and time consuming and costly, of course, but we have to do. I think these are the reasons.
Thank you so much, Nastaran. I am informed by our training station at Metropolis that we have received also a question. I think it's more for the city of Dresden, for Mr. Socher. Mr. Socher, why did you choose this area, these brownfield areas?
Yeah, you can hear me? Yes, of course.
Yes.
We have an overall goal for the city development, the city of short distances. This goal strengthens.
We lost you.
Then I will repeat. We have a goal for the city development, not only one, but here is a city with short distances. This strengthens local public transport, but also bicycle traffic, and people are not so dependent on cars. And we also want to strengthen internal development in order to reduce suburbanization. And the next point, the city center is becoming increasingly overheated, which is a consequence of climate change. And therefore, in addition to the development, well-equipped green connections must also be created. As you can see here, the green belt be created. Last but not least, it's about the cleanness of the groundwater as a resource for drinking water. We use in Dresden for about half of the population. This brownfield sites also achieved the highest priority for innovation and urban regeneration. It's next to the city center. It's the groundwater resource for drinking water, and is the opportunity to improve the climate adaptation chances.
Thank you so much, Mr. Socher. We have received another question. I think it's more for Shiraz. What about the regeneration in famous districts such as ethnic neighborhoods? What should be remained and what should be changed? What about the transformation projects in neighborhoods? I think this is a question for you, Nastaran.
Really, now I have not any idea. All our experiences focused on my duties during these years on historical zones and neighborhoods. We redefine the old boundaries of these neighbors. And after so many interventions in destroying modernization actions, we try to some activities with paradigm shift. We start with cultural and social. We tried these actions in informal settlements also. And we have some experiences in this part of city. We gain some efficient achievements. But until today, I've gathered some all researchers and all activities aiming at the culture-led urban regeneration history. gets a few years later. I don't know.
Thank you so much. I have another question here. What is the, oh, I think it's for Nanjing. Yeah. What is the difference between the two models of urban regeneration implemented by Nanjing? I think this is for you, Ms. Zhang. Ms. Chang, did you hear me, or are you okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got lost just now. Would you please?
Okay. Did you hear my question? What is the difference between the two models of urban regeneration implemented by Nanjing?
Yeah. I think the most,
We cannot hear you well. Put the micro, maybe. Yes. Thanks.
Yeah. So I think the most important difference of this two model is one is top down and the other is bottom up. And so in the top down model of the Oatmandal area, I think the good part of it is we can keep it systematically and do it just in the most smooth way, and because the it is only the government and the state-owned companies take place and take part in this whole process. So we have not so many negotiations, so not so many discussions between the one who make the project and the one who living, I mean the local residents. But the bad part of it is, this is the government. The government should focus more on the public supply, public in product supply, and it doesn't have the very good ability to do in the market part. So when we doing the not this in the construction process and the management process with so many problems, it is not so efficient with government, just government and the state-owned company join into this process. And in this the Little Westlake area model, we have the bottom-up trying, and in this case, I think the good part of it is the first, I think it's more democracy, and it can say the people, it can say what they are really need and what we can really supply to them and give them and make it feel really good about the living environment they are living. They have more choices. And for example, when we thought about the on-site resettlement, and I think the local residents can choose whether to live or resettle in other area. If they choose to stay on site, they have we can have abundant of professional teams to help them to strengthen the house and make their living conditions much better. And if they choose not to live on site, if they choose to go out, move to other places, we also have abundant of choices, the housing choices for them to choose. So they have more choices on this part. And I think in this way, it is more sustainable, because if we have this kind of choices, it is not forced to do something. People and the local residents may think what they really want. It is all about what they really need, and so that give us give us a direction to supply to them most suitable things
I mean, not only the space, the houses, but also the sense of place. Make the root and the culture, make the culture just protect the culture and make the root lasting. And this is a more sustainable way. Yeah. Okay, that is the main part. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Zhang. I have another question from, sorry, I'm trying to, Shagaye Molarezae. I'm sorry if I did not pronounce it well. Thanking you, Mrs. Najdagi, and if it's possible, we would be delighted if you inform us what has the municipality of Shiraz done to inform and empower women for sustainability.
It's an interesting question, and the answer is more interesting. Actually, our programs were not tailored for any specific groups except for children. For adults, we try to provide opportunities for any and every citizen, regardless of gender or age, or some ethnic things. That was the last question. But interestingly, participants in our skills workshops were mainly women. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe they trusted me and my team. I don't know. More than men. But we're not supposed to get some specific group.
Thank you, Nastaran. I have a last question. Okay, I have someone who is requesting the floor. Shahab, can you identify you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Is it possible I just have 1 minute?
Yes, Shahab, and then we will close this session. Please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation, the valuable and the wonderful discussion, for sharing your lovely experience with us. Thank you very much, the host and the manager. Okay, I go quickly to the question. You know, if I'm not mistaken, when we scrutinize the sense of the event escapes, or we go behind the curtains for the meaning of the event escapes in the urban design field. So we understood that the event escapes are arranged based on the pivotal or main point of the scenario or the storyline. The scenario played a role like a belt or to tie all of the elements to be loyal or committed to the storyline of the movies in the event escapes in cities. So my question is here, how should the whole process of scenario making be planned and implemented to get a nutritious or enriched storyline? And beside that, who is the main role model, or if I'm not mistaken, the scenario maker or the scenario writer or the scenario creator? Is it the government or NGOs or consulting or the publics? Thank you so much for your consideration.
Does any one of you beautiful speakers want to answer this question? Is there any what is the main role model? Is it the public? Is it the government? Is it other stakeholders? Does anyone wants to answer this interesting question?
Thank you.
I would start. Okay. I believe the starting point should by the city government, by the city council, and we identified the areas to redevelop. But within this process, you had to involve the businesses, the population, of course, and also NGOs. And yes, but there are no abstract model, I believe. We have to decide from area to area. There are another prerequisites, there are another demands, another goals, and so on. And it's a big difference to create a new residential area or a business area or a green area. And so I also can answer, it depends on.
Thank you, Mr. Socher. Nastaran, Ms. Chang, would you like to address this question as well?
No set prescription.
Yeah. Can I answer?
Sure.
Okay. In my opinion, after 15 years experiences in urban regeneration process in 3 or 4 metropolis in our country, it refers to it due to the nature of urban regeneration approach as well. It's a multi-stakeholders, you know. Urban regeneration is not a project at the first. It's the rule number 1. Urban regeneration is not a project, never ending, and it is a process. And the indicators of urban regeneration have been divided between 4 factors or 5: environmental issues, social issues, cultural, physical, infrastructural, and also economic issues. We have so many approaches in the urban regeneration: culture-led, community-led, project-led, urban design-led, sport-led, so many approaches. And its nature force us to. I want to explain with example. When you drive a car, you have to notice to the fuel, to your speed, to all signs are in front of you. Okay. Urban regeneration is like this. The process of urban regeneration is like this. You have to supply some infrastructure underground, and also at the same time you have to educate the community. You have to increase the civilization, culture, or something like this. It's the nature of urban regeneration, I think.
Thank you so much for this answer. Ms. Chang, would you like to say something?
Okay, I just want to talk about 1 or 2 points. Yes, I think it depends on the culture of the location and the different process. So after think of all those, we can choose. Then we can choose which model is more suitable for the situation. Just now we talk about the education of local people, education of the citizens. That is very important. So when we do the small West Lake area urban renewal, it takes us almost 2 or 3 years to educate. Not only educate, just talk with them and let them know what we are going to do and what their demand for in this project. So, but now I think it's much better. So when we are doing we are now doing another new project in other areas in Qinghai. But this time I think it's much more faster than we thought. Yeah. And so we started to talk with people, and when they and also we introduced this model, this small West Lake model to them, and make them know better about the whole process of this project, and they show their they know what we are doing, and it really based based on what they lead and the real situation of their living environment. So they show their respect and understanding of the whole thing. Yeah, I think there's a process, but it's getting better and better. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's a process to create trust, right, among the whole communities. We have received a lot of questions and could not address them all. I'm so sorry, but our time is limited. So I will conclude this session. I would like to remind you that in the next few days, you will receive an email with the materials containing the result of this webinar, the recordings, and brief news of the event. We will also upload these excellent projects from Shiraz, Nanjing, and Dresden in our use platform. So for those who are not familiar with Metropolis, I remind you that thanks to the contribution of our member and non-member cities, we are continuously developing our platform called USE, U-S-E. This is the acronym for Urban Sustainable Exchanges. And USE is a global peer-to-peer learning and networking portal for urban practitioners, but also for experts, researchers, and city makers. It documents innovative projects and policies that cities can take as inspiration or guidance. And this online platform is open for all to search award-winning case studies considered good practice, but also to search some experts from cities around the world. And you have almost any topic on it. So currently, and under the filter of urban renewal, urban regeneration, we have uploaded over 70 projects of policies. Projects from Johannesburg, Berlin, Turin, Bogota, Thessaloniki, Springfield, etc., etc. So I invite you to become an active member of our knowledge community. You can register and create a public profile to display your own knowledge and your interests. You can also contact peers and upload new projects to the platform. Visit us at use.metropolis.org. On a final note, I would like to thank our distinguished panel of speakers, as well as our wonderful audience and their contributions. Feel free to network with our speakers after the session. It has been an absolute pleasure and a brilliant way for us to start our morning. A big thank you to the teams that have been working behind the scene in making this webinar so fruitful. Stay tuned and keep safe. Mohafad Bashid, Khoda Hafez.